authority back to the states and local government, and fighting anti-Semitism and fighting for women's sports. In a couple of minutes, tell me about your accomplishments. I know you can't do it in 2 minutes.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm glad I really don't remember a lot of those quotes.
Oh, there's more.
But
They hit you with everything but a chair. It's disgusting.
Well, I can tell you what I believe we've accomplished a lot. As I mentioned prior.
She's been called unqualified, a simpleton, someone whose only credential is a history of spreading division. Welcome to American hearings. Senator Kennedy just sat down with Education Secretary Linda McMahon, and before asking a single policy question, he read her critic's own exact words into the Senate record. It's one of the most pointed hearing openings you'll see. Let's get into it.
Madam Secretary, first I want to make it clear that my remarks do not refer to my good friend Senator Shaheen. I want to start by saying one person's opinion. You are so cool, literally and figuratively. They call you names, and you just ignore them. I also want to say from the record, I don't think we ought to mislead the American people. This isn't your budget. This budget was put together by OMB in the White House. Every White House does it, sends us a budget. We take a look at it. Some of it we adopt, most of it we ignore. So all this play acting for the cameras is just that, play acting. I want to take you down memory lane. I'm going to come back to the extraordinary job you've done at the Department of Education, which was, when you took it over, was the poster child for excess federal government, chock full of a bunch of woke race baiters whose job was to get in the way of our teachers and our teachers' age. But I want to take you down memory lane because you've done this despite all of the obstacles. Do you remember when my colleague, Senator Schumer, said the following? I'm going to quote. Americans don't want a radical, out-of-touch billionaire slashing funding for public schools. Linda McMahon is not qualified to lead America's public education, but that's why Trump nominated her. She's the perfect choice to burn our public education system to the ground, end quote. Remember that?
I do.
You remember when Congressman Mark Pocan, I could be mispronouncing his name, so I apologize, said, quote, Linda McMahon should stick to wrestling. You remember that?
I actually don't remember that one.
Boy, you can only be young
Did
once.
pretty well with that, though.
You can only be young once, but boy, you can always be immature, can't you? Do you remember when The Nation magazine, very, very democratic magazine, published an article entitled, Linda McMahon's only qualification as Education Secretary is a history of spreading hate? And this is what they said. Quote, she is 76 years old and wants her legacy to be turning the bigotry that made her so obscenely rich into public policy. She's a simpleton. My God. I want extra time, Madam Chair. Everybody else has gotten it. I have been so impressed with the work that you have done in lifting up elementary and secondary education and trying to whittle down that giant rogue beast that we call the Department of Education, the work you've done on school choice and returning authority back to the states and local government and fighting anti-Semitism and fighting for women's sports. In a couple of minutes, tell me about your accomplishments. I know you can't do it in 2 minutes.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm glad I really don't remember a lot of those quotes.
Oh, there's more.
But
They hit you with everything but a chair. It's disgusting.
well, I can tell you what I believe we've accomplished a lot. As I mentioned prior to visiting so many states and to see what kinds of education systems many of those states have, from classical education, from that I saw in Florida and other states, to states that have really accepted returning their reading programs to evidence-based phonics, and we've seen the response to that from many states who are looking now to take those same programs into numeracy to make sure that the math scores are coming up. When you walk into a department and you look across the country and the President of the United States has told you that he was embarrassed and ashamed by the state of education in our country, and not only across the country but in its place in the world, and he expects you to do something to make a difference in that, because what we've been doing is not working. The innovations that we have seen to bring the level of schools' reading and math programs up is innovations in the states. They don't come from the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. So what I hope to do is to put together a toolkit to leave behind and to share with these states, this is what is working. These are some of the things that we have seen. The Mississippi Miracle. Mississippi was next to last, in reading. You know that very well, Senator. And they, through their own invention, it took about 10 years, but they didn't give up, and they kept doing it. And the steps that they took and made, Louisiana adopted, Florida adopted, Tennessee, other states. And so we have seen through the states' innovation and continued funding, which will continue to come through government programs, they have made a difference. And that's why states are the center of what's going to be successful for them, whether it is looking at their children, with disabilities. That is why in our budget proposal, we have asked for the largest increase, $500 million to go into IDEA funding, because there are more students who need these. So I think that we've made some incredibly significant accomplishments, and we've just begun. I've only been here just a little bit over a year, but we're on the road to continue to look at the states and what we need to help them with their funding to take on more of these programs. And those programs that are federal will stay in the federal government. Title A stays in the federal government. IDEA stays in the federal government to make that funding, but to send it, directly to the states. So I'm pleased with where we've come so far, but we clearly have a lot of work yet to do. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Senator Merkley.
Welcome back to American Hearings. Senator Kennedy opens this session by doing something simple and effective. He reads the criticism back. Not paraphrased. Not softened. The actual quotes, attributed to named individuals, placed into the official Senate hearing record. Senator Schumer. Congressman Pocan. The Nation magazine. Kennedy lets each one land before moving to the next. And what's notable is Secretary McMahon's response to all of it, including the sharpest lines, is composed. Almost amused. Kennedy's purpose isn't only to defend her. It's to make a record. Those quotes are now in a Senate transcript, and so is her response to them. That framing matters. He then pivots to substance: school choice expansion, evidence-based reading programs, anti-Semitism enforcement, support for women's sports, and a deliberate effort to push authority back to states rather than centralizing it in Washington. McMahon's own response is worth studying. She doesn't relitigate the attacks. She talks about visiting states, observing what's working, and building a replicable toolkit. Mississippi's reading turnaround gets a spotlight. Louisiana, Florida, and Tennessee adopting phonics-based curricula. Results, not rebuttals. That's how you survive a hostile environment at the highest level. Let the outcomes do the fighting. The line Kennedy delivers, "They hit you with everything but a chair," is vintage Kennedy. It's also a signal about how he reads the current climate inside the Senate Education Committee. Whether you agree with the policy direction or not, the communication discipline on display here is worth studying. Poise under sustained pressure is a skill, and this hearing offered a clear example of it in action. Subscribe to American Hearings. Share this with someone following education policy.